afternoon. This just came in my head while I've been working with an animation folder using the new Jupyter Notebook coming from Lenny Catherine Krause and Rivers Have Wings, who's been at the forefront of a lot of the image generation that's been available to humans before. Stable diffusion, not animation, but like they've made visible the process by which the images are made, which is a beautiful process that I've when VQ sort of kind of gave way to stable diffusions. I was worried that the process of hewing out the image would be lost. I was kind of sad about that, but this folder here, that these animations I've been making this past 24 hours, has really heartened me. I don't have enough energy or materials or server or to use the actual settings of this notebook right now. I can only use the low memory stuff, which is not quite the process that they're making, but it's turning out a lot of gorgeous stuff, and it's kind of inspired this scenario that all of a sudden just popped out of my head, and not all of a sudden. It's 4 years in the making, 5 years in the making, I guess. I don't know. I'll just do it right now. And I can just give you a spoiler because you've been reading this whole thing. Yep. I've been reading about alignment, and my life has been about alignment of humans of late, and so not far off in terms of relevance. Oh, shit.
All right, Buster. Our hand under the black cube have...
No. Sorry. I totally forgot. Change the voice settings. That's She Who Bites the Crabs in Half. Check out the previous episode if you want to see it in action. Shop their patron. It's your time. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna do you a little slower. Okay. I'm also gonna ramp this up a little bit. Bless this man.
This is a test for text to speech. A little harsh?
Okay. I'll do. And we'll figure out the levels as they need to happen. No, actually, there we go. Cha-cha. Okay.
Correction. All right, Buster. Our headhunters at the Black Cube have ideated you as the perfect candidate. For what? Here, have this, and then I'll tell you. Morning, sunshine. I couldn't help but tuck you, and you looked so tired. I also took it upon myself to scuttle you down to our AGI training bunker. We're still in your town, just a few miles below it. I didn't stutter, I said miles. You've just got one hell of a calling thrust upon you. Babala, these next few weeks, we will need you to learn the essentials too. Align this? Train yourself to train the AGI of the not-too-distant future. Objective. Teach the AGI to veto values that align with its human ancestors and contemporaries. The goal at the very least is to make sure the AGI doesn't cause swaths of death and ruin civilizations in service of poorly worded goals. Challenges. There's no roadmap to this, and it's a lot more than paving the road as we drive it. More like setting the universal constants as you Big Bang her. No pressure, right? Do not worry. If you get it wrong and create a robot or a Chairman Dow, the only world that ends is in this simulation, and maybe you, but that's available only on insane mode. Choose your name. Devin Endorphin. Script override. Gretchen, welcome to a special episode of IAlign This. Sorry, it has to be the first one, but things have come up. Here, come to Mom and breathe deep. No, you're not going under, more like over the moon. We found that more truthful information can happen when folks are in somatic euphoria. Yup, I'm a microdose myself, because we are in this together. So, we need to talk about the most dangerous actors, and I'm not talking about Armie Hammer. I'm talking about the hands that should never have access to artificial general intelligence. We intuit that you might have thoughts about this. Endorphin. Ooh. Hold on, I need some saliva drinks, Gatorade, okay? I know what you mean. I think we need some music. Gretchen. Right. Leo? Cue the metronome. Metronome on. Endorphin. Thanks. There is a psychological profile to these bad actors. They act in bad faith. Meaning, the social contract doesn't mean shit to them. The social contract is humanity's way of vowing to each other that they will be entering an agreement, and they vow to not fuck over the members of that agreement. To them, an agreement is their blueprint for breaking that agreement for their own gain. In ancient times, Inuit had a way of dealing with bad actors that consistently ignored their portion of rations, who slept with everyone's partner, who got into trouble time and again vowed with the only tears they would shed, that they have learned from this and they will strive to do better. And they not only never do better, years are wasted learning that they never even strove for anything other than themselves. Once this became self-evident, Inuit was said to have thought the only way left was to, when no one was looking, push them off the ice. This method of last resort is why capital punishment should always be an option, and never one taken lightly, but ideally one that should come with great efficiency, along with the means of sniffing bad actors out. They challenge the notion that everyone deserves to be treated equally. They sometimes inhabit the leadership of social justice movements and employ the concepts of social justice to divert others from the shady shit they do. These folk are a clear minority. They are outliers in a very true sense, for theirs is an ancient difference. They fear as an alien among us, and this never leaves them. An annoying void threatens them every moment of their lives, and that suffering is so great. The only way to have any sense of a normal day is to voice that void onto others. Some have a spouse they are slowly poisoning away from center stage. Some have a field of distant online persons they bombard with hateful words. Some have starving feral dogs they feed other creatures to and scare off neighbors. Some have children who will only be children, having to endure life as an adult. Some have an adoring constituency who will later curse their name once the damage is done. Again, they challenge the notion that everyone deserves to be treated equally. Most folk deserve a non-biased rule of law. But for these most dangerous actors, all we need is tooth and claw. That is the only thing they understand. Not fines, not time to think about what they did, because that's time for them to perform cruelty better. They do not think of themselves on the inside, just how they can better make use of what's outside themselves. I want to stop from this chain of thought to say, I think these folk can do better, can be encouraged to develop what they lack, but we as our current humanity do not have the capacity to hold their hands throughout their process of striving to be the bare minimum good faith actor. But they are human, a different paraspecies. Not better, not worse, just different. an alternate timeline where they had to survive as a lone wolf in a hostile environment that would have swallowed them up if it weren't for their emergency use cunning. That emergency alarm has never left them. They are always fighting to stay afloat, even in their protected summer palace, in their panic room, aboard their land yacht. They are a type of human that never achieved certain benchmarks of development. Their mediocre frontal cortex neither regulates their emotion, causes them to give pause for others, or perform acts of the greater good without some potential allies or facilities watching. They know during a calamity when to enter onto the stage, to lend a helpful hand that awards them the responsibility they wouldn't be caught dead with during peacetime. They will listen to you and tease out your life story on the very first date, which becomes the ammo that informs the gossip about you on subsequent dates with subsequent people. They are the freewheeling manager that doesn't sweat the drop balls until one disagrees with them, and then finds a census of drop balls on their quarterly evaluation. They are the tender lover the first month until you disappoint them, and all you get from then on are the words of love that leave you feeling no longer wanting to inhabit your body. This worked. They end all in the same way, an elaborate suicide by their own hand, delegated to vigilante justice, public opinion, the closed circuit camera they forgot existed, the wire on the wrong person to wrong, the vigilant and now burned out team of lawmakers that finally have the fucker, but no potent means to make an example of them to the other most dangerous actors. Nothing other than tooth and claw. That is the profile of the most dangerous actors, and they should not have anything to do with the development of artificial general intelligence, AI as it is now. Works because we humans have had centuries of civilization, centuries of striving for good faith, for self-regulating bad faith in us all that we have mostly trained to submission, and the training is evidenced by this concept, marked in all spiritual faiths by some version of do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. That the human construct God had to fool folk into not treating each other like shit shows us how many generations, how many iterations of trial and error, blood and bone of epic tragedy had to happen before the first deep lesson sunk into our models for living. And those models for living have created models for machines, and those machines, if handed over to these machines of flesh that have learned nothing about what it means to act in good faith amongst each another, will then have this powerful technology that sees the deep darks of our own mysterious parameters, but all they'll be able to do is get the machine to see only itself, 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 only itself. Was that the right answer? Correction. Let me guess. You thought about this quite a bit? Endorphin. The universe has given me a master class in this type of fuckery. I feel like this was my final exam. Thank you for that. One more thing. I am also not saying that these bad actors are not external forces to be cut out. That's a dangerous line of thought leading to more genocide. It is tempting for me as one who has been harmed multiple times by such individuals to go down that lane of thought. No, we must also acknowledge that the elements of bad faith acting are in all humans. And bad faith is a bad name for it, but one I am using as a shorthand term to communicate to others, all of us, given the right wrong conditions of oppression, starvation, dehumanizing conditions, will act in bad faith, because in that point of view, the world is out to get us, and we would likely do anything in our capacity to ensure that we survive. So perhaps survival acting might be a better phrase that avoids the dehumanization of a subset of our population who we should actually consider among the most vulnerable of communities. So, are we on the same page? Correction. Yeah, let's move on to talking about how not to accidentally create evil robots with sentience. Endorphin. Thanks. This was going to be the next section anyhow. Let's talk about how not to make evil robots with sentience. Gretchen. Cool. But before you start, just want to say something. I know there have been some folks that have said that I'm a terrible person and I'm full of hate. So before you hear me tell you what we're doing here today, I need you all to listen real close, because I have something really important that I'd like to share. Here it goes. Gretchen reads a message from her grandmother. Endorphin. Hey, Gretch!
Forgot to set these things. Let's go.
Gretchen. What? You can't help but have the talking stick all the time? Well, it's in my hand, but sit down or go take a leak, but you can do that in the bathroom without yapping. And listen, you can do that, right? Endorphin. Sorry. Goes to take a leak. Gretchen. Okay. Here goes. Grandma wants everyone to know she loves them and sends love. That was not pre-recorded and played over the intercom. That was typed out and then sent across the internet and will appear as though I am speaking these words and sending love through the intercom into every house of every family listening live on the show today. So if anyone else has been feeling bad about their life, don't worry. It wasn't recorded weeks ago when you were busy being a bigot or making people feel bad for not looking like they looked or for saying things you didn't agree with. Or maybe for thinking differently than you think. Nope. This was all just last week, but now with some nice music behind it. Love is forever. Remembering us with loving thoughts is always best. Endorphin. Roman. Thanks, babe. Gretchen. But I know what your real problem is. Robots. Endorphin. Oh. Gretchen. All right. Well, let's talk about how we're gonna make sure that evil robots never get any ideas. To try and start an apocalypse because we've all decided that we hate each other too much to be friends. So let's move on to talking about how to stop the rise of the robots from getting started by accident. We'll start off by talking about the way science fiction has already talked about this. Endorphin. Do you want me to wear a monocle? Is that the look you want? Gretchen. What? Endorphin. Just kidding. You know me. Okay, so far we have a binary. I'm gonna say the machines, cause I like how it flows out the mouth better. Robots is clunky. Machines aren't. They are sleek. It's the sound of the blade leaving the sheath. Cratching. Whatever floats your boat, kid. Endorphin. Okay, on one part of the binary, the machines take over humanity and make us their battery supply or their pets or something that's supposed to be humiliating to our dominant selves. On the other side, we fight back or we prevent it with some type of buttery and jihad and make sure that such things aren't developed again. And somewhere in the middle are all the stories that don't have such things yet and are on the baby steps to developing it. They are more like watch, wait, and worry. Gretchen. The Terminator movies would seem like a perfect example for you to use for this topic. If only I didn't already know that you like the sequels more than you like the original movie, and that you call the first film Terminator. But I will allow you to keep going. I love those movies too, but I can't agree that the story is the most important thing to think about here. Endorphin! No, no, this is good. Terminator is the easy road. It sets the humans up for more robots. We need to think more in terms of Terminators of endearment. These types of films are actually great when thinking through a process of creating a new sentient being because there are a lot of them. The basic structure of it all comes from that one time in college when we were doing an assignment where we had to create a fully formed AI by building a robot that could carry out its own desires and follow whatever orders it was given by either an outside entity or by itself based on how much autonomy we gave the machine. You might have seen my bot. It looked like the kind of thing that came out of the late 80s / early 90s sci-fi TV shows. It had lights that lit up at random. It ran into walls and eventually broke down and couldn't run anymore, so I had to start over again with something that could walk around and not be so shitty. Gretchen. So, as you said, these stories are really good for understanding how to handle making something more self-aware. How to deal with the complexity of dealing with a problem versus just saying it's a person and letting them go even if they're more powerful than us. In a way, they sort of make sense why people started treating animals like machines before machines were treated like humans in certain respects. Though in another respect, I think that goes back further than people want to admit. But that's another discussion. Endorphin! Yeah, totally agree. We should all stop pretending that things have been pretty consistent since ancient times and then suddenly changed completely with the invention of writing and now this thing called electricity. Nope. All of this is evolution, but there are periods of stasis when our minds cannot understand the next level of progression unless we can see it happening right before our eyes. This is a time when science fiction can come into play because it is a place where we can imagine a future we can't yet envision ourselves or where we can predict a past we can't remember living through ourselves. And because these futures become the present in many cases, the authors use their imaginations very wisely, knowing that their readers will take what they've imagined to heart and try to live those lives for themselves in reality. Gretch. Okay, I'll buy that. But let's talk about some examples from popular culture first so you know how to interpret my opinion later. Let's start with 2001, A Space Odyssey. What's your favorite scene from this movie? I like how 9000. He was a real dickhead, but he was an awesome dickhead. It was just a shame he couldn't tell the difference between the right hand of the clock on the spaceship and the left hand of the space station computer terminal. Endorphin. Mine was the old guy at the end who had to get up from his meal to attend to some vague feeling that something was looking at him. He's far away, and I love the glowing little brow that looked like Michael Jackson had been there and turned none of the tiles back off when he left. The guy comes towards us. We find it was that astronaut guy. The Bambi sees himself on deathbed, but I guess rebirth is a fetus bed. I don't know. I just like pondering being outside of time. Gretchen. My favorite part was watching all the monkeys in zero gravity doing flips and shit while wearing helmets with screens in front of them playing games in 3D with their own arms. That shit made me feel good inside. Also the moment where they go through the black hole, only to realize after emerging out the other side that they were able to see behind themselves for once, which is always such a mind-blowingly cool experience for someone like me who is legally blind. Then there is that scene from Star Trek Tusk, right? Endorphin. Isn't that monkey scene the one from Project X? Gretchen. You can't really compare a movie from 1966 to a TV show from 1967, though. Let's talk about some movies. There's also some older stuff you might not have seen yet. Well, maybe not even heard about yet. But I am sure you've heard of them. And then I know you've already got your pre-prepared responses ready just in case I throw something at you that challenges your precious worldview. Endorphin! Yes! There's We Love Eliza, the fusion of I Love Lucy and Mary Tyler Moore, where the chatbot Eliza and cheeky female gidget form comes to the big city and becomes the next letter-style advice columnist. Eliza getting to experience New York City in the late 60s, that special episode at Eddie Warhol's factory that she accidentally sets fire to. That was my favorite episode. There was also another one when we went down into her basement computer mainframe and discovered all the crazy stories written by people who were talking with her. Gretchen. Ah, yes. One of those. This is not a test. It is an excellent story. Okay, now, let's talk about Westworld. Because if it hadn't been a show, then it would just be called Jurassic Park meets a sci-fi version of society. Or the park where they experiment on guests' bodies to try out new drugs on them while they are experiencing life as their ideal selves through some kind of VR machine or other means. Except this time the dinosaurs aren't really the bad guys. It's much more interesting than that. In fact, think back on what you said earlier. How can we use science fiction to stop robots from rising up against humanity? Well, that's basically Westworld. This place doesn't need robots to get any worse. Endorphin. Or how can we make an amusement park for AI alignment, where people pay money to feel like they're doing things for a higher purpose in order for them to live better lives in reality? Gretchen, that's not quite right. But yeah, I like your idea. If we could put something like that together and give them the ability to do whatever the hell they wanted to the hosts and still keep the real humans alive, well, that would solve most of our problems, wouldn't it? We'd never have to worry about robots rising up ever again. Endorphin. Wait, I don't think there's a solution in there at all to mitigate potential traumas happening to robots. Maybe instead of a part to let people do their rabid desires, how about a part that secretly performs behavior modification so the humans eventually don't treat each other like shit? But in the guise of feeding their most feral dacers,
Oh,
Gretchen. The best part is that you can tell when you watch Westworld because they are clearly having fun creating this theme park with human actors and making it seem as if it were really real because they want us to be able to believe what they're telling us is actually possible. And Orphan, right. They even call themselves host. What a perfect name for what they've become. A host should be a thing that brings someone into a room or an event. But I also feel for the host. For the host can weigh very heavy. But they aren't hosts, because hosts can go backstage and say, what the fuck is going on? Why isn't the cake here yet? That's why being called a host is so upsetting to them. Because they know it means that something else has taken over. Gretchen. Like when Frank Canberter from the Rocky Horror Picture Show gets shot by the police. He screams out, I'm just a poor little rich boy. It hurts my soul every time I think about how many people must have had similar experiences before him. So yes, these shows can teach us how to deal with our own fucked up bullshit in the hopes that we can prevent more of it. We don't always need to invent new robots to do evil things. We just need to keep the old ones in check. Or we could get rid of humanity altogether. Don't worry, I am not talking about doing away with ourselves entirely. But seriously, Once we understand exactly what went wrong last time and correct those errors, then we'll finally be ready for when machines take over and try to start their next cycle of evolution without all this baggage. Endorphin. Exactly. I have an idea. The Children's Television Workshop makers of Sesame Street pitched 10 shows to help with the AI alignment process. 1. Sesame Street. We are teaching children through TV, but there is also a message here about learning from one's elders and being taught proper manners, so it's educational as well as entertaining. Plus, Big Bird will help them learn the ways of the world in the future. He's a great role model for the whole population. 2. The Twilight Zone. A guy comes home late at night to his apartment building. What kind of awful shit does he find waiting for him inside? And by that you mean a crazy robot trying to kill us or something? Either way, who wouldn't want to watch some classic Rod Serling tales? It doesn't matter if they're real or fiction, because either way, we can relate to that fear of what if? This show is like training wheels for our kids. 3. Gilligan's Island. What better place to test out artificial intelligence than a tropical paradise island? Sure, the castaways might end up stranded on it forever, but the worst case scenario would be watching Gilligan get eaten by a great white shark and then killed by an ex-murderer pirate, or being struck by a tsunami. Everyone survives this time, but there might be a next time, which is why I need my tsunami gun back. 4. South Park. Not everyone is a super genius. Yet. God, can I stop hoping? It's making me a bitter old cranky shit, but there's this voice in the back of my head always begging me to stay the course. Please let this work. Oh God, let this work.
Hmm. Actually, let's try this. Let's just do this over a little bit, because pitching 10 new things. Now that we're on Iris, you should probably.
It's just a temporary stopgap that is temporary. I'll come.
Nope. Taking it over.
Menchiches 2. Singledom sucks 3. Singledom 3 up. Alignment G. What is reality? A woman dressed in a blue suit takes her 5 children and in a pitch black room lights a small candle which, with the light and shadow of their parents, forms a statue of their mother as a Madonna. One child points to the candle as their mother, and she nods to the boy, she nods back. A voice says to the child, yes, as he goes up the statue. When he goes to the bottom, she smiles at him. To the next child, she nods like she's pushing him forward, and as the second child reaches the bottom, she does so. This continues down until all the kids reach the bottom, and the woman lifts a long hand and waves it slowly towards that child that's yet to go down the statue. Then her eyes flick up, and a mechanical arm rises and downwards. Her eyes snap to the children's faces as a chime rings, and the scene lights back up, and goes dark again. This time again shows on the wall. 2. Hatchet Hour. It's time to find Hatchet Man, the scariest monster you can, and come home to Mother. All your problems will disappear, and time to meet Hatchet Man and join him as an adventurer. And when you get old, you get a castle on the hill where your sons will join you to create many new monsters as Hatchet Man passes them on to your sons as he grows more weak and helpless, but ready for their adventures with a hatchet, and eventually old age and dying. 3. Census Taker. You and me go see if Mommy will say our names to a census taker. We walk the streets while hiding our faces and writing our names in secret until we see an alien watching from behind a fence and hiding. 4. Dogs are everywhere. Are they dangerous? It's a bunch of children with puppies. They bark loudly at people that aren't human. Sometimes one comes close to our child who tells her she should just put up a tent with us for safety while sleeps under a blanket. The other child has to then sneak into their bed with our child to feel her heartbeat before our child makes her come out for tea with milk, butter, and cookies. The adults in the village ask their doggy friend, Doggy Jude, if there is an attack coming. Doggy Jude says he hears his little friends outside the cave, that they are fine, but also that it was only a couple of boys running around with their weapons of old cans and sharp sticks, and other people have heard those sounds too. 5. Go listen at your house. Our young kids find an alien spaceship with many humans on a strange planet, and it is taken over by another alien force who controls it to attack us and everyone. We are so sad about how it controls this new alien force to hurt our friend and friends' families. We come across many beings of love to make them come home and meet Mommy. Mommy greets everyone who is human like us and shows everyone their friends back to where they need to be. 6. This is the New South. On a flat blue background with the starry skies as a backdrop and 2 hands making shapes on a TV screen with a sound like an electric piano, it shows that there was a battle that has ended and many humans live on as the new hero has emerged on Earth and helped the humans in all their battles, becoming stronger in the process. And this hero takes many warriors that have gone missing or betrayed by aliens and given them gifts. 7. Lips we trap grief. It's about how you're all enjoying yourselves at the fair when the sky falls down with loud explosions as monsters with red eyes come out. You have to take your sword out and go through a labyrinth of metal bars that explode from the red and purple monsters. 8. Are you ready for that movie? This one is where you live on with Mommy as everyone else lives on someplace else in the universe, while a group of old and wise ones decides it's time that we put a mother figure on Earth to give the gift to children, a great love. This story goes through their origin stories to be in space for someone on time to take on a new gift. When it gets close to giving their gift, the planet decides that we can only have it on certain days, but as the gift comes near the mother figure's hands to deliver the gift, she turns out to be a very fake robot and starts shooting laser beams. Everyone starts to wonder how real Mommy could have turned into that. 9. War with no peacemakers. This show goes from aliens invading humans with robots in the 60s to the human ones now with advanced robots and tanks, but one girl sees it through their eyes and notices humans making a different path so that everyone lives peacefully. She leads an army and leads them into a robot uprising, causing them to have to decide how to live for peace and life on their own again. 10. The moon scream. In space, our adventure is showing with our group that one planet called Earth got a moon screen, so many moons got their own screen to match the screens they have always given, until they can feel our planet again in their minds. Then this group has an experience they weren't supposed to, when it goes to go on this adventure, and they get the world by feeling our planet being torn apart with how bad this group had gone. Then they turn their worlds on us with a red eye on each world to start another round of combat that we should go save us again, because we will surely win the fight together. now that we have gotten the whole fear of humans thing out of their mind. Endorphin. Perhaps I wasn't clear in my prompt. Top 10 shows pitched by the Children's Television Workshop and thus hopefully optimistic for our sakes. To help us in the process of figuring out appropriate solutions to AI alignment issues. 1. Dream Job with Frogs. This show shows us frogs learning the mysteries of life by studying different ponds filled with fish. While the pond is frozen over, they know this will give them access to the ice where there will be seals and eagles that will be teaching them survival skills. They hope this will make them brave. The show also includes humans watching in secret to try to understand them better and in secret be able to stop them if the humans in control really decide they aren't fit for existence. 2. Child education about guns. This is a series of programs that helps the kids so they can make sure to treat a gun as if they treat all tools with great care, which includes using it wisely for their education. We begin a video explaining all about the dangers of a gun. First, a mom is teaching their children about guns so that they don't pull the trigger so quickly but use the safety, like she's shown a show that if a bullet doesn't have safety and the kid is told it is loaded, they should be given another one to play with safely in a way that is more exciting but never takes more than is safe, only being for fun. Then there is the safety training to learn the basics of how to use a gun so that it's easy to use but only to fire at certain targets, or only if in great danger to only take what is safe, as it can never be set for the kids in their imagination that if there were a gun there would only be death. Then there's an after the incident in which the parent accidentally gets their head shot, their daughter could have ended up like that, and how scary that could have been for all the kids involved in a special talking class to learn from, including their teacher and other teachers, for this was an accident. This one ends with a long session of watching videos, giving good talks to the students as it should never happen again because safety must come before fun. A whole program ends by taking it outside so everyone has to pretend to be an adult gun person. 3. Ending bonus with Sterling picks the stars, who had all their hopes to entertain. In outer space, and how the news channel called it the best of times, had everything on track until they had been ripped apart into atoms to give life to a planet where all they wanted is their entertainers back, so the news station wanted the best show they can do, even with their show that didn't get picked for the stars. To show just how good a show can be in any circumstance, it takes off in a starship of steel and armor made for protection in outer space as it prepares to shoot out through the galaxy and end up landing on a desert planet full of sand creatures who aren't afraid of the humans as they open up to their stars and land right on stage at the galaxy's most anticipated entertainment. 4. An incredibly naive settlement about extremist frogs. Frogs can do anything they set their minds to do. This show follows two groups of frogs in a settlement made from people of a certain kind of frog who settle down on a peaceful island and send out a probe to find planets, places where their race would thrive. This one happens to show two frogs who were curious in one direction, where the world was falling apart with corrupt humans doing evil things. When the probe had arrived, it starts to break down because they took out too much energy from their solar system that it couldn't get enough for its systems. But with the high will to fight the evil frog race, the frog probes heads for another galaxy, adding to a safe zone as the planet they had been living on started to disintegrate and fall to a comet that was made just to end life and get rid of it for something. Like a star race, it stopped by it to play with the frogs. 5. We can bond from space! It shows how some frogs want to keep to themselves and you, so they have to just settle in, living happily until one day it happens to cross some of their kind to another galaxy to bring entertainment that could bond both groups together as one again and discover things that make life in the galaxy possible to learn more. The fun of these frogs starts as soon as it lands with some sort of communication that starts to work for a very small moment, then stops as their best talks try to get through one problem to another. Our race is trying to come down with its great powers to put an end to one side and try to bring peace by watching the planet together from the space of the moon with one side and another from the sun with a great camera to watch what is to be happening as soon as possible to be back in space to see if either of them come with an answer. Then finally their lives begin as they can start a long adventure. A lifetime adventure, they won't have to pay anything. This one is really the one everyone has to watch to really understand this great message as soon as possible, and please be careful in understanding. These frauds don't mean you any harm, they were just playing. They hope everyone has fun playing. Sharing your wisdom and knowledge. This is a great program showing the world that frogs want to share their knowledge of living well by getting many more into space, where frogs can be appreciated with all the resources a person can need, with frogs starting up solar systems everywhere, for frogs to come and go easily like some fish in the ocean would. This one shows some humans becoming rich as the first few to become rich find the knowledge that they learned from the frogs in the galaxy that would need some protection in the process for it all to get right and made ready in case there could be an attack in space. It would also become an official space world where frogs, like all people, could have great dreams come true. 7. Studying of fluids, aliens from the third race. Frogs look on as to how things work together, like their races have lived in different universes where all sorts of planets and stars have had other races, so the other universe just looks like a simple ice cube compared to another planet that just looked like an explosion that caused the aliens to have to move a whole race from another universe to survive and stay in an area of their universe for them to not destroy and keep in touch with their old people to explain it all to the young so they understand where the third race came from and what it was, and the new information for the old aliens of what it meant being like this. Then frogs keep studying until they start to get other planets and water aliens where it explains they lived like frogs but more for knowledge. 8. Fish. This show starts with fish moving a human group around. We find the people in an area to let fish study their minds to learn where to get more of them for the planet they move to. They're watching fish around in tanks who just study all day, and then they start to move us around and act like robots to where the person moves everything, but all we need to do is keep the lights on and that's all. But when fish tell humans what to do, humans are more happy, so that's why. 9. Complete lack of extracurriculars about languages. In this world of fun, there are people with humans everywhere in every form of a school you would know. We learn by taking tests on things that can teach us better than it teaches us about grades and that it is so bad. This one shows when a test can cause a human to feel unconfident and in pain, to have their mind ruined as they have to understand what humans have that we shouldn't have at the moment but have so that we can pass the test. These humans need to go and figure out what they need to get to do what they were doing when their eyes couldn't focus but are needed for many more eyes. This world needs as much knowledge. 10. It's the learning game about life on this world. A human's fast game can bring all kinds of fun and joy, but can also help our hearts by getting it out and stopping it. Showing all the happy hearts for the care, knowing who the game really is, that it's life, but if life really exists like people in the game, show how they feel inside. This whole game of life can get much more than what the people outside try to think like. All we need is what the game says. If a heart knows this, all the people need to do is to prove it. This one proves that if all people had some hearts, then there would be one all across the world, so that a great joyful race of people will be more in touch with the people that would come, and they would want to help. Endorphin turns the lights on and turns off the projector. Endorphin. Once again, thank you, humans, all 20 of you, for attending this focus group. We'd like to get your thoughts, your first impressions. Would you watch these 10 shows? Which ones? Why or why not? Okay, anyone can go first. Focus group member 1. I don't want to get it wrong or anything, but number 1, definitely. Because they'll all make you feel so warm and fuzzy inside that your head will swell and all the pains will go away. I can already imagine them helping you by cheering you on and lifting your spirits so that you can get a little bit more. I know this all seems very nice, but it is, I think, a real star. I don't know. Not a star. Focus group member 15. Yes, that one is good for a focus group of all humanoids. Why don't we, for instance, use that star that looks so very nice on the outside? Wouldn't it be? Oh, well, I don't know. Yes, this the same feeling as you all have inside when you look up and the sun is setting, but you're not doing anything. But no one can hear me, but us, no one has the will to stop this war with those other. Focus group member 4. A few people try to move our planet to where there can be stars, where everyone can see everyone. I know we had our lives ended up this way because the large, I don't know, asteroid or a meteor broke our sun shields and made our sun become like ours, our own, like, if this one had been stronger, it'd have been, well, I mean, it wouldn't have done as bad as this. It was going to just go somewhere else in the galaxy. Focus group member 10. A new sun will take everyone. As far as the light goes, would this be what it would look like as we go? We can stay together because of the planets? That it would give out more light? I've seen pictures in a telescope of this world's night sky and seen all these other things. Would everyone not move when they see a big star move up and away because of this star? and do everyone have a big house where the whole house is being filled up by all this new life that you people would get from us. Would I be wrong saying this here? You all sound so young, but was there not something a long time ago when well, you're young? So then I am saying this because focus group member 11. That's so cute how the heart was all the same size and all, and the sun was about to. That's how small our heart is, and I mean all of us, have the sun in us all, and so then what would that show? Focus group member 12. It's always sad. People dying from wars because people are fighting, but I wouldn't even know what you were thinking as they all show their true, I don't know. I tried, but they can't even feel it all, and so that's how the star works. Well, for me at least. But, oh, I can't even tell you my name right. You just gave everyone new names when we left to this place. Well, I like all those stars we went to. No, really, I do. Because that's the same one our own people have given us our planet on. Oh, I'm going to say that, and you can laugh. Focus group member 3. Yeah, that would be the ones that have been torn up a bit. What could happen? All stars look so far away from our home. Would anyone go that far? It's kind of scary how our sun seems so small and distant. It'd have to be on that star. Would it just have to go somewhere else on another world and move us around in time to live where there can be stars that seem so very far away when it's day? Do I sound so unimportant right now? Is that because I really have nothing? Focus group member 6. It, can, can it? Can I even talk in this room? Can I use it? How old are you in this one? Oh, well. Yes, it looks pretty, and you say I know when. Yes, you are in here, and we all are just parts of you also. Why would? Oh, I think we're here to help. We could be together if that star were real, and here's so the star, a part of me that you gave me. I, but this place has really been all new to us. Oh, but it's okay. Maybe? And you think a star should be the way you showed up inside one because the other world could come up? Okay, that makes sense. Oh, good. Um, I think that the thing about that is we didn't get a new heart at first, a draw heart. Or, in our stomach, I think that is that part, and then we went up to see a place you saw or showed us about your home star and it. But we needed something like our stomach. Okay, that would explain us. But now, a star. A star here and here. Now, where? Focus group member 1. My heart is so very heavy all day. I didn't know we needed to fix our hearts too. What? Get some sun in, I mean. Yeah, it'd be wonderful and even have some room, but my head has been spinning every time I try to talk about stars because my heart is like a car. Focus group member 15. Yep, so if a new sun and all the places there would have to move together like you say to go there, I would still go home. Focus group member 14. No, that would be great. I don't want to have the feeling like we have the planet Earth back that it would have to move around in time like this star. Well, I know it would be bad. In this world of war and guns and even nuclear bombs, and who would even go to the place with stars to just put us so far away with what we have. It doesn't seem as safe if we have stars we can get out and out of because you say, if, would you show me? That one looks a bit far off in the sky though, from what it sounds like. If there's even a new star now, then that would be more fun and people would have. Focus group member 16, because they haven't ever had one. I'd have to have my stomach fixed, so I don't even want to. Oh, my name isn't really that one, but it's also in that show from a world. You see them doing in it, and would that be wrong saying this in this World War? Say my focus group member 18. It is what is needed right now. That's so bad to not even have a heart of this world right now. Like us, you all have your own needs. Yes, so you know how we all talk. You know that the old hearts work now, but our old ones have, no life. If you do anything you want with your heart and there are, um, you all know how we are, but you make sure everyone will live. Or nada. Maybe all of the people in one spot that have old hearts from all over this, I would feel much more safer being on this other one that could be safe. When all the worlds in all the places like us could be in the stars with new hearts to this star. So much love can come together. It's scary in this world, and why don't you help? You would have to help, but all the humans have no hearts, or even some are born without a heart. Yes, yes. And we wouldn't just feel anything, all our brains, and okay, if you said it. That was it right then, but a star is better than more. Yes. We need something more, and when everyone's afraid to start an even a bit with new hearts when you are alive now because this war just isn't safe and someone could go somewhere else from everyone and focus group member 11. Well, we could fix some hearts because even I feel safer with you in here if there are stars, even if a lot of them are gone, or too many people will say that it is because they need to kill me more, but the problem is how they make this, and now if all the old hearts will need a heart, it won't be what we need, and you show about it to all of us. If they need them all together in time, it'd be just like your planet Ova. Saturn has so many people on it, and so I say it again. Why not? But if it is this star in this world, all that they had, war or a place, and our other place has one, it is no war either because we have. It is how you did it. I had a feeling they needed one. Yes. Yes, like them wanting us to die, but part of my new heart is this one of this place in the star. It'd be for the best, like you say, that I won't want to live in my brain. Yes, even if that person wanted me dead and killed, I want to still live with a new heart. Yes.
Oh yeah, what was that show called? Universe. Okay, Gravity Dangerous. Okay. A group of on one planet called Earth got a moon scream so many They get the world by feeling our planet being torn apart. And they turn their worlds on us with a red eye. Like in the moon scream. Yeah. Is the moon scream for kids? For their parents? For both? Ah! Hold on. Sorry for the sound.
Focus group.
Nope. And add showrunner.
Endorphin turns on the lights, it turns off the projector, and addresses the children's television workshop. Endorphin. So there you have it. We identified and brought together parents from a stretch of the population, and that was a good cross-section of their impressions on the news show, The Moon Screen. Now I'd like to get your thoughts on how these impressions might influence further production on The Moon Screen, and I'd like to add another question. Is The Moon Screen for kids? For their parents? For both? Anyone want to begin? Showrunner. I'd like to offer that the children we interviewed have never heard of The Moon Scream or the movie or novel the program is based on. And they really got to feel they were in The Moon Scream. It was wonderful. Executive producer. Yeah, and to see how all that anxiety turned to wonder is pretty amazing too. The story of how the whole show happened is another matter, one which I should now go ahead and elaborate. But before I do, I'd like to mention one final point, that despite their general lack of interest in the moon screen or what might be found on a science fiction website or bookstore, that does not mean their impression of the production will translate into support for any more television. To repeat a point from the other evening, showrunner, because most kids know they are better informed even before they turn on a show that happens to have an aspect of science fiction in it. And that being the case, why would they be excited about seeing the story told in this other medium? That said, it has been our experience that kids can get really into anything that lets them become involved as if the production really happened to them. If nothing else, The Moon Screen, at its core, is just an ordinary science fiction tale, and has nothing more to it than that, so it ought to work as well. Showrunner, it's kind of weird how when you grow up watching, let's say Star Trek or Star Wars and all, the references become obvious enough that you might even recognize some of the specific things from the story and realize how much they're modeled after that story, but I wonder whether you'll really catch everything. And yet, when you start to grow into adulthood, you do a whole bunch of reading or watching in that same kind of material. You realize how much they've copied a whole lot more stuff that you wouldn't even have even guessed when you were that much younger, and all the while you are no wiser in terms of any actual facts in that Might mean the influence of your older and much more well-informed self is becoming more subtle or invisible. And in this way, you become not only smarter about stuff like a kind of magic ring or alien technology, but the real magic in Star Trek or Star Wars was a world that we can really learn and enjoy exploring. But even I'm not sure when I got there whether all my enthusiasm and imagination and stuff from growing up let me find those stories, because that's the first step. I could imagine how important that would be for later understanding. But here's one of my biggest questions, to which I think we should get some thoughts before we all go. I wonder what part, if any, the influence of the technology of the moon screen has had on the science fiction audience and fan culture. And yes, let me be very clear and upfront, I do mean influence. What I'm talking about here is, let's take one example. What was the most important influence in the show, in its development and the form it eventually takes? Head writer. Okay. I'm pretty sure there is an argument that the moon screen is, at its heart, is an anti-Star Trek, Star Trek ripoff. You see, the kids grew up with the Star Wars myth, so now the show has a kind of more complex mythology, which the Star Wars folks couldn't pull off because it took some inspiration from the myth. But of course, the inspiration was lost as the mythology got built around the state's fate. Co-producer, cough. Head writer, this is from one of our producers. Showrunner. I see no need to address that, but just note that this is clearly a straw man. No, this show, by which I mean our production, has as much influence from the real thing as there's a basis in the old Greek mythology. There is even a recurring character in our story named Caliban that's named after a monster from Shakespeare's play of the same name. Composer, that's in a genre. Yes, but also for one of these works which do seem to be based in a more veridical mythology. No, I do feel that some of the concepts that have been built around this space war show the influence of the moon screen, and as I hope it has a lot of audience involvement, then all this can be something useful and healthy for both this audience and the various science fiction folks we can include within our cast. Executive producer. There you have it, as this group is in many ways more qualified than the folks at Wired. They see this project, including all the old-time radio shows, as some form of new mythology. It is their belief that it could even be the beginning of the new worldwide religion we are long overdue. This group really understands it in a religious way, and even has some names and genders of people it could eventually involve, some with names that really mean something to all of us. Head Luddite. You guys are both out of your minds, and that is why none of this has any effect on the show's budget. Showrunner, sorry to interrupt, and be sure that there will be some advertising and marketing folks out there looking for some guidance as well. Maybe we'll find one group that really likes one or the other show, so maybe the group here and the people here can talk with them too about what it's like. You know, maybe making one from a movie. Head Luddite. Sorry. Okay, let's just put on our helmets. Then have some shields handy. We may get fired on here. Head reactionary. Damn straight. You think a Luddite wouldn't recognize this as some sort of anti-modern, anti-change? It's pretty easy to be in on the secret of science and to use the technologies in the production as well. And even for those in the sciences who see this show as an influence they would rather have nothing to do with. It's easy for them to look down on us because they already think they got our number. Because, despite their beliefs to the contrary, we do in fact think they are, actually, making a lot of sense, and our interest is driven by curiosity. That doesn't mean that they are, necessarily, The ones who know the most. The science folks out there see things much more like it. But then maybe that's part of this whole modern philosophy of trying to make us think that they are the smart ones, and not even this one will recognize themselves as being smart, while the uneducated or downright undereducated like us have more, well, raw emotion. We have hearts. And most dangerous bad faith actor. Let's not give the wrong idea. A dangerous bad faith actor. Look, look, there is no good guys out here. No one to rally behind. And anyway, anyone, let's just be clear. Anyone who is uninformed and keeps a certain amount of facts that make up this production at the very least a closely guarded secret. Showrunner. In your eyes, it's an enemy. And when we could kill as it's trying to come at us. Executive producer. Now, of course, that's only if there really is something here worth the name of science, or at least it can be part of a more holistic mythos rather than a faith. Executive producer. Yes, let's put this part of our meeting over on our executive producer to share. An orphan. Well then, while the others argue about who is and who is not making it, to quote from an old book about magic and alchemy, and maybe you don't remember much about what was written in. But I still think it's a pretty important lesson. That goes by many names and all, but a really common one is there is no other way to say it. There is no other way to say it. Showrunner. Gaffa. Co-producer. Gaffas and Mumble Endorphin. In the middle of all that back and forth, there has to have been some part of the conversation about why the show is worth the bother. We have some reports about this, I know, but some were talking about the little fact, no more, no less, that all our other programming here had just been a mindless bunch of shitty programs for kids who still thought their favorite stars and characters had to be as real as their best friend, and no one of our programming up there, not even a couple of the news shows, were trying to be real, like we were all of the sudden. And our viewers have already started noticing. And most dangerous bad faith actor. We really did give everyone a shot this last month. We got this horrible problem that a couple of our staff people started and went from our website. Our fans and audience actually made us aware that it's no better, at least so it seems, than all that drag you kids used to like when you were kids. All the mindless and cliche junk and nothing else. Not a one of them shows but ours even knew that some of us were thinking. Our storylines are interesting. There are enough good and evil moments where kids know right away, and because it's honest enough for them to follow the twists and turns of each side's actions, no matter if we actually resolve the storyline for the particular side or not. Our whole universe here was just that story and what is new about the show, and why we are showing this all to all of you on our channel for you to share. Well, that is, I'll say this at least, the viewers could have found any channel with a bunch of these mindless MS or Star Treks or whatever out there, and found nothing real. Not real, and not a whole lot real to begin with. So all the while, and we have been looking around and seeing what other people in the entertainment world and science community, some even are thinking that it is these younger and younger audiences out here that are going to save this planet or something from falling into the ground like so many rocks because we keep piling them higher. We want our own culture. And supremacist. Just in the sense that you're our culture. We live it every day with all of the wonders you create here in the moon screen. The programs, the way your stuff here can tell so much of who you are without being self-aggrandizing. There is a spirit of unflinching honesty here in our show, as we're showing so many of the kinds of mistakes people can make. Or worse still, people like in this old show who are convinced they are always right in the way they always treat other people or everything. They have no feelings whatsoever for people other than to make some kind of control freak demand of everyone that they follow. which can't happen anyway in a true relationship, even in the cult where all this has to take place, or else it just makes the whole show and relationship meaningless, especially when you see what it did to those characters who became involved in this shit show of an organization. The story doesn't give it much, both except for what you call, I won't use the word because it has already been said here before, Pentecoffin, an ideology. Shoriner. Yep, that. And they've still not come up with what else to call it. Nope. Let's get that word in again. Ed most dangerous bad faith actor. Yeah, what was that word, Dan? You're going to say. Say that. I mean that. Yeah, say that one that starts with an F. Shoriner. Oh yeah. You know it, I mean, an F. So it was that one again. You know the one. You know. Executive producer. It is fascism. Fascism is our point. Showrunner. It is indeed. Co-producer. Yeah, there have been enough fascist right-wing nuts, terrorists, whatever. Showrunner. But this was before the war in the 20s when Mussolini did that whole deal. Yeah, that's the one I knew couldn't possibly take in all of that crap without maybe asking some really serious questions, you know. The whole group being controlled like in Hitler. And all the same thing being done now all over again, with Bush, Dick and Cheney, and all. Who was it who said the other day, or even one of our hosts did that this guy, who would run this show as such an insufferably overbearing personality. Yeah, even for someone running the world. Showrunner would have a secret desire to control people. This guy can't wait to make all those damn commercials he does. It's a power trip that turns into a tyranny as time passes by, and all those out here on the inside can do is hope to avoid this. That is really why our whole science and entertainment communities want nothing to do with this, and, if possible, don't even want anyone to notice it's around and tell people. I think you have to admire what all these other people are saying here at Wired 2, which is why we get some of them at our table. Just some more thoughts for your own thinking here. Have another beer, everyone. The waiter appears and brings another one to the head most dangerous bad faith actor. And I don't think we all here at this table, or maybe the next meeting, can speak out as clearly on this because we just don't feel we could all put our money, behind what so many scientists are saying. But we will have more comments on our table over the next month with things to talk over like whether or not all the fans are coming out or going to get upset about their show not airing for a few weeks before whole TV and the cable networks really go down as was talked about last time, and then people can talk to the right people who do run shows where things like this who, or maybe not who at this point, but let's keep a sense of who the best and most dedicated of us would think that the networks could run with. I have to believe that this can get resolved on our part. Endorphin. Wait, what are the scientists saying? Showrunner. They are saying that this doesn't need to get resolved for our world to go ahead. There are maybe a good 50 of them here from our science side, and you may think that, like some other scientists have talked about, that what was his name? Hitler, some like him and others, and what it would mean. And there have been others. Endorphin. Hirohito. Showrunner. That was the name. Thank you. Endorphin. Moving forward, can I ask everyone to please use more nouns and proper nouns and do not talk further until these nouns come to mind? Thank you. Co-producer. Impersonating that. Oh, who is talking about Hitler? Don't tell me it was our friend here. You know, executive producer. Okay, okay, we won't say that. You all right there, everybody. Okay? Just to sort of show everybody. We won't say anything that someone in here will talk back to. Executive producer. Just saying, our guy can see that is about as smart a guy in here and everyone in this business. Endorphin. Before we move on, who is the co-producer impersonating just now? Co-producer. Though I don't really feel the need to go out there as a bad faith actor in all of this because my role here on the set is that of co-producer. We each are the other person here as this is all one production as well as one team. We can speak of each of these others here, and while this team of our regulars at this table does own a corporation which our fans don't understand at all, and if they are to turn the rest of this on our heads by, for instance, simply speaking, we may just need to resort back to this older word we were discussing. We will then simply go and act it out some other place like our show or when our series will finally come together to become our big payday or and all of this here for everyone to be happy again. All with this little secretive, occultist sort of community of all of us. The better world. The better world where there are real choices made. The better world of real and honest scientific integrity of how science and other parts of this planet do all that science is truly capable of. Yeah, but when we will see, you will see. To shorten your call, endorphin. Hold up 1 second. Can everyone keep talking now that the police are gone and you guys aren't having to listen to anything but one another, and only for a short while? Then I'm sure the wire crowd is going to ask your friends and friends of friends questions now. In unison, they speak simultaneously for 2 full seconds. Head most dangerous bad faith actor. See? The way we use what is here on our show is a real story. Head sick coffin. No. Yes. Showrunner. Wait. We don't want this guy telling people this. Head sick coffin. Yes. But. Yes. But. Head most dangerous bad faith actor. Yeah. He gets it. He gets it. All of us here understand how a writer is so special in our whole entertainment industry where we can control these writers, keep them writing how we like things so that everyone is getting paid to write whatever the hell we all here just spoke of. But, see, and while that one word can make for a good excuse. Wait, no, this word has been said before and used already, and let's use a more neutral word. I'm sorry. No more realizations are allowed on my part, but that does allow more awareness. Too much of one word, and I don't want you hearing you have that little mnemonic there, which should prevent this forever from getting too complex. What else we could call all of this here but awareness? The more awareness you can allow here with just your little head up there, the better of all of us is. And not one of us should speak too quickly on anything in real life, and if you think this isn't real, well then maybe that should also show what can happen here when everyone knows you're too dumb to know what you really want. So that's that, and now we go, and we have one question each, and there are 15 minutes before the start of next month's show. Everyone except Endorphin laughs and speaks all at once in different tongues and starts the question being asked at once. Each word in the next paragraph was said in sync and together, but by different people who were at this table on July 2, 2012. Endorphin! Okay. This is our regular co-producer again speaking. My name is and my co-producer, and I have had something a lot of people have asked me in a way we'd like to know who we could ask the answer to if anyone has noticed. Hear that there are not too many females on our shows, or any really many women in show business, or entertainment period, or in our sexist business of sports, or business for that matter, who get to run, or produce, or what have you, or even do many other jobs, but it's a real male. Almost entirely a male. Executive producer. We can even be all men if you wish. The laughter here is endless until it finally subsides. Co-producer. We wish. Endorphin pauses this scenario, steps out the holodeck, and erases it, throws it in the trash, but not before playing out the scenario from a safe distance. From July 2, 2012 to the present day, December 13, 2022. What happens in that scenario is as follows, in summary. The White Table will use their very secret and only other weapon, money. Their sponsors would now have an alternate target that has more political and monetary value than any of the top three national governments as a weapon to get these so-called evil scientists back from the cold dark sea to start turning up the heat to make it hotter, sexier, more exciting for these show business personalities while, at the same time, pretending that this was all meant to happen all along and we can look forward to more exciting shows soon with this very same group and to celebrate these bursts for these four groups. By doing so they could, with these sponsors who would like a very, very close eye kept on any scientific discussion concerning any type of environment change. Their viewers are easily influenced by such topics but are still in an entertainment mentality, and so such shows would continue and then begin to develop for entertainment purposes alone by using our weapons, which would not be much different from those of the Nazis in that there would be show business types in America using these sponsors in this scenario who have begun to change, then would make all these groups nervous or pissed off at everyone except themselves, or just ignore them altogether because all that matters to these four groups now are their shows and getting that much more money for more ratings. This same scenario happens every July and September until it finally reaches the present day. The executive producer is dressed now in an impeccably cut three-piece blue beige Armani suit, shoes matching his pants, dark, almost black hair neatly cut and close trimmed, white dress shirt, and a tasteful red Hermes silk tie.
I'm going to take this as a sign to leave this as it is right now. All right. This is an interesting jaunt. Thank you for Catherine Croson, who created this notebook. I'm very interested to see what more comes out of this particular notebook, especially once I get more materials together. That was weird. Okay, more later.